What's happening, team? I just finds everybody well. Welcome back to the Built for Pressure podcast with me, Will Foden. Today, we're going to be unpacking a question that was asked not long ago, just out of the back of Q3 into Q4. And it's actually, what does a 6 or 7 figure business leader really need? When it comes down to those that want to achieve, want to push their limits and actually win across their mind, body and their business, 99% of people don't actually have a consistency problem. They actually have a clarity problem. They don't understand the next step they need to unlock new levels of potential in whatever realm that is, whether it's their physical performance, whether it's improving their vitality and health, whether it's actually from a mental perspective, having the sort of resilience and the markers of decision making that allow them to focus and take charge of their situation, or vice versa, actually just leading from the front of being a role model. And today what I'm going to be talking about is my experience in this space, because I've been operating in the human performance space for a very long period of time, and I've worked with some incredible people that are doing some incredible things, selling out of companies, building companies, and or rising to huge feats of physical performance. And I'm going to show you some key traits that they have. Because as I said, the main thing around when it comes down to it, to CEOs, executives, founders, those that are pushing their limits in relation to the high achievement space, they just don't actually know what they need to do to pull this lever. Because the issue is you've got way too much information. If you are running a business, if you've strapped a business from nothing, if you're pushing yourself to your physical, mental and emotional limit, I know exactly how exhausting it is. But deep down, that's the reason why you fucking do it. It's because you love it. The minute you make it easy, you make it harder on purpose. Why? Because pressure meets pressure, and what you want to do is achieve across the board. And if you guys would like to look into something, if you wanted to be a geek, John Welborn did the pyramid of success. The cornerstone of it is hard work. Friendship, loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm. Those are like base level things. But the bottom left is the reason why we put this inside Built for Pressure the other day, because I found it massively liberating when I'm looking at sort of self-awareness protocols of why we strive to want to achieve more. This is a massive cornerstone of those that want to adopt. And again, his stuff's amazing. If you guys aren't if you're into coaching or leadership, anything John Wooden, strongly recommend. Because in the high achievement space, especially really in relation to social media right now, we have this huge hustle culture of just taking on more, holding yourself to an even higher standard, doing more things inside your process, adding this, adding that. You're being weak. You're not being resilient enough. Blah, 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 blah. Where actually, if you totally zoom out and step back, people that are making a shitload of money, huge impact, developing freedom for them and their team, they haven't got a hustle problem. Because actually, let's be honest, you have to be out of balance to get something in momentum. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I've done this in my personal training career, where I've been in a gym and I did it. But the worst gym shift I've ever done is 13 hours back to back. And for the last 6 people that are with me, I apologize, because that level of service was shit. Because I was absolutely fucked. And that was my first understanding around energy preservation, and that recognized that actually I was a commodity myself. I see so many business executives and people that are operating in the leadership performance space just dialing in, thinking more is more. More is not equal. If you are on business meetings and they are not pushing a needle and you've got no KPIs for that, that is a massive problem. And that's KPIs for yourself. That's not just KPIs for what's happening in those meetings. Are they actually pushing the needle, so allowing you to actually take better steps with your performance so you can move forward? But actually, the bit that actually makes you want to go from being overwhelmed, frustrated and pissed off and just purely being focused and aligned is knowing the next bit of your journey. And again, shameless plug on here, we are rolling out an implementation call, which is a 20-minute long call where you can't actually join our process on this call for one reason. I'm fully aware that the social media space is full of sleazy people trying to sell you shit using different language, and that is not me. If you're a good fit for our program, I'll tell you on that call. If you're not, you're going to have a game plan. You would have connected with someone who's like-minded, and maybe or maybe not work with us in the future. Because the key thing that you don't need is you don't need more fluff and you don't need more bullshit. You just need the next step for you. And again, putting myself in my hand in the air, I can guarantee that I can solve that. Because I've been there, I've done that personally, and I've seen others that do it. And these are those key 5 lessons that I have learned from people that are absolutely dominating across, again, creating more impact, more freedom, and more revenue than I've ever heard of. And one of the biggest cornerstones and biggest lessons is you actually need hard training. But you earn the right to train hard. That's the difference. Most executives and most corporate professionals think they train hard. Smashing yourself on an assault bike and making yourself sick is not training hard, to be clear. There's a very old school PT called Andy Reid. I've never met him before, but I love his stuff. He mentioned that if you want to feel hot and sweaty and beaten up, I can take you into a sauna and beat you with a stick. It's the same thing when it comes down to training. There are some people that we work with that are operating who are ex-athletes who are absolute beasts in the gym. You don't need to usually they don't need to be told they are. Vice versa, there's people that are operating at a seriously high level who are soft as shit. They look like a melted wheelie bin, and actually, you just look at them and you say you've got no respect for yourself. It's not that they don't respect themselves; it's that they're too busy focusing on other people. And that is something that we see across the board when it comes down to the high performance space. Is the visual matching the audio? But some things for you to take away. What I mean by you earn the right to train hard is, are your metrics in check? I.e., have you got good blood pressure? Have you got a good resting heart rate? Have you got good energy? Men, have you got good libido? Women, have you still got your period? And if you haven't got your period, you should know why you haven't got your fucking period. Vice versa, have you got a sex drive? Are you happy? All these things are huge metrics of recovery. But taking the emotions out of it is what you only manage what you can measure. And this is why inside my process is we have objective and subjective feedback, because I know full well that I could get every single one of my customers to suffer through whatever I ask them to, because they're strong-willed, they're determined, and they're a savage in their own right. That's not a measurement of success when you get to a certain level. And if you're a CEO of a global law firm, if you're pushing yourself across your limits in relation to the executive performance space, or you've strapped a business and you've already seen success, you don't need someone to measure your fucking ego. You need someone to measure what's actually happening underneath the hood, and that's why we track our metrics. I remember when I've dealt with a particular customer, absolute legend, shout out Robbo. Those that know Robbo off my Instagram, absolute legend. If you ask me someone who can suffer, this man can fucking suffer, because head of compliance at Deutsche Bank, works on a global scale, huge amounts of team pressure, whatever. Do you know what he loves to do? He powerlifts internationally for Singapore, breaking records, and still wants to push his physical limits. His version of training hard is not actually pushing his emotion. Why? Because if I push his emotion, he's willing to break himself to show that he can do it. That is the difference that makes the difference. Those that are operating at that sort of level do not need an accelerator. They need a brake. And that's what most executives need right now. As you head into Q4, if you are struggling to see your next step, it's because you're moving way too fast. You've got no idea what that's doing to you from a physiological standpoint, an emotional standpoint, or a trajectory and direction standpoint, because you're not allowing yourself to actually get in position to see the next step of the journey. And that's going to be the difference that makes the difference. Point number 2, you're not going to progress with generic advice. Work pressures, time constraints, international travel, and having the make it fit kind of piece of the puzzle is absolute bullshit for somebody who's operating like you. Why? Because if you are sending it on all fronts, you need something that's adaptive. You need something that's responsive, and you need something that's not going to take up your energy and bandwidth. That's actually going to be preservation and get you back in the game. That's from a chronology standpoint, so if you're traveling internationally. That's from an emotional standpoint, so you're better at home, better at meetings. And more to that point is actually you just searching for fucking workouts on Instagram to say train hard, just to train hard is the reason why most people are broken. They can't lose body fat. They struggle to stay in shape or keep a consistent training effort because everything they're following does not fit their story. And that is, we've got a particular customer in the program at the moment who is absolutely, his evolution inside of his company is mad in relation to he has had more progressions in his job over the last 3 years than I've worked alongside before. Before he came into my program. But actually what he needed now was, because he'd given everything to get there. He got to to a massive stable part. He's a CEO of a company. This is from a national standpoint, ambitions to go international. Recognizing that actually to make him suffer even more and push him from a physiological limit is going to get him nowhere. Lo and behold, giving him half an hour workouts, mobility protocols, and also get him to fuel what he's doing and have a recovery practice in place has given him more energy and bandwidth than any training program could. That's because it's specific to his journey. And that's what I'd like you to take away from this, is write down your current training process and your performance process and what's generic and what's specific to you. Because if it's not specific, it's not additive. Point number 3 is when you hit a new level, regardless of how high you climb, the thinner the air, the less people are up there. Most people will not recognize that their mental and physical performance goes hand in hand, and actually you've got an ownership, direction, and a clarity thing, not a add this to your process thing. When you are climbing into feats of performance, like as mentioned, when we talk about sort of growing businesses or creating more impact, more freedom, generating more cash, getting more for your team, etc., no one will understand what you do, and it's actually your responsibility to not forcefully make somebody understand, because some people don't want to know. But actually, from a physical or mental performance standpoint, are you putting yourself in the right rooms, in the right spaces to actually allow yourself to be the person that you need to be at the right time? A big challenge I have for most people who are dominating across the board is the social piece of them operating at the level they're in is hugely alienating. If you are a founder or an entrepreneur, it is extremely fucking lonely. Period. Because you spend so much time looking after everybody else. But what I see a lot of the time in this space is I see high performing individuals trying to think their way to a physical position or to get shit done, or the opposite. They put themselves in a position where they want to beat the fuck out of themselves to actually purge from the bullshit they've given that they've done previously, and that's their biggest frustration. So if you need to have an actual locked in process that you've got people in your corner that get it. There's certain people that need to just be a friend. There's certain people that need to be accountability. There's certain people that you need to have from a familial perspective, that you need love, you need care for. There's also people that need to hold you to a higher standard. Have you got those people locked in place? Point number 4. If you want to dominate across your mind, body, and business, the association that this is going to be an easy road is futile. And accepting that the road that you need to be on right now is extremely lonely and boring. And actually, the ones that aren't boring, ones that are easy, are extremely comfortable, and there is no long-term performance there. I have had shiny object syndrome within my coaching practice before. I remember when I went to Singapore, I moved over there and I changed my whole identity. What I mean by that is instead of me, I was a ex-professional rugby player working in a school. I moved over there with the vision of building a global high performance platform that I could take online. That's what I did. So I had to be somebody different. And I remember being in there, and I was smashing it. I was fully booked after 3 months. I was increasing my prices. My customers were sending it again. People that were like very much founders and entrepreneurs who were pushing their limits across the board. And I said to myself, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna build a transformation program in relation to just body fat, not worrying about any other high performance metrics, no holistic side of things, no mental performance side of things. And actually that was my biggest bottleneck, because in the fitness industry, when you're new, I wasn't new to it, but I was in a new area and I thought that was what people wanted. Actually, that's not what they wanted. What they wanted was more energy. They wanted more bandwidth. They wanted to feel more capable. They actually wanted to look like they train, but actually enjoy themselves at the same time. And what they didn't want to do was starve themselves, because their client engagement style, the choice between eating broccoli and earning $1 million on a client through a client event was the difference. My point being is that actually recognizing that there was no quick way of developing what I wanted to. It's the same with my coaching practice. There isn't a quick way. I don't sell quick fixes. I can tell you the levers to pull, wherever lever it is, and hence why we talked about the implementation call. That's the easy bit. It's just principles of training. Principles of high performance, principles of science. It's not emotional. It's just what's happening, then do this. But human behavior, leadership, building a company, doing the do, that is what we call fucking ugly. And it is grey, and it is hard, and it's interpersonal, and it has to be integrated. And this is the reason why my company is literally built from the start to finish on whoever I work with. Because the people that I work with are alien. They have got huge expectations of themselves. They've got huge pressures to deliver, but more to the point, they're highly specific to them, and that's the name of the game. So lastly, one thing for you to consider is actually not many high-performing individuals, CEOs, executives, founders, the only thing that they find fun is their business. But I also find that is a massive bottleneck for them, because if something bad happens to their business, they take it extremely personally. Gordon Ramsay coined a term that around taking it physically, taking it personally. Make sure you take it professionally, not personally. How many founders or entrepreneurs or business leaders take everything personally inside their business? Because all they're focused on is growth. I'm the number one person who wants to achieve, to be clear. I want to fucking win everything, and if I'm not winning, I'm bored. And that doesn't necessarily mean beating other people. It's around beating myself. I want to feel my evolution. But what I learned from going to Canada with my family was actually I did have the capacity to enjoy what I was doing. I had the freedom and understanding that I could take some time off and I wasn't going to everything wasn't going to collapse. Vice versa, I understood what made me tick. And I've started putting things into place that allow me to have other hobbies that aren't just growing my business or searching in higher performance. I'm actually doing a winter skills course in the Lake District in December. I'm going to do boys and ladies and gentlemen know that a man loves a barbecue. I'm taking a full barbecue course from nose to tail of a deer. Actually, that's going to be the ambition to do that in January. My point being, I'm diversifying where I'm having fun. Because if you guys are stuck on that, and you guys, I said, you're entrepreneurial of some description, and all you think about is performance is around output and aggression. Dr. David Spindler, his name is, podcast, check him out. Was in the Rich Roll podcast. He is Mark Cavendish. I know I've mentioned him before, but maybe you haven't caught it. Mark Cavendish is a psychologist. He massively talks around the biggest driving force for anybody trying to achieve peak performance at a huge endeavor is actually loving and relishing it and having fun. And if you're a human and love what you do, it's a weird one, isn't it? People talk around their mind and body about their business being family. I don't believe business is about family. My family are integrated within my business, but the premise that I have to separate it means that what I do is I become it when I'm with George and I'm with Rach. I don't have to always be on. It's very difficult to mix that up. Actually, if I have timestamps where I'm on, leave me alone, I'm working, and I'm off, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm an athlete, whatever, that has been the biggest game changer for me. So those are some key traits that I have found over the years of working with 6 or 7 figure business owners, and those that are absolutely dominating across the board and seem to just have this magic success success formula that allows them to keep going forward and moving and sustain and having staying power of their performance. It's not that they're an alien. It's that they've actually got a structure underneath them that is specific to them, and they recognize that actually to find the 1%, they have specialists in their corner to do so. Fully appreciate you for listening to this podcast. If you like it, please share it. As mentioned, there'll be more opportunities. We're going to be talking to more business owners, more people that are performing at a high level, more ex and current athletes who are dominating their physical performance, because I know the name of the game. Name of the game is actually finding that 1% of information and 1% of actionable takeaway that unlocks new levels of potential. If you have been struggling yourself, if you are operating at a frequency that you can't sustain, or you're just super fucking frustrated with what you're doing, as mentioned, DM the word call on any platform, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's 20 minutes, no obligation, and you can't be sold on it. I've made that on purpose, because actually you did an hour call to go over your full journey. If you do want to be part of our process, if you don't, it's 20 minutes of value. You're going to get what you want out of it. You're going to know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. You'll be able to pull that trigger. If you want to be part of the journey after that, great. If you don't, I've made a friend. I've connected with someone of like-minded nature, and I know exactly what they need to do. Anyway, I digress. I appreciate you. I'll catch you guys soon.